I'm Commander Shepard, and the Unnamed Games podcast is my favorite podcast on the Citadel. Shepard out.
Hello, people of the internet, and welcome to episode 41 of the Unnamed Games podcast. La Thunder Lips McQueen there, breaking out some proper big fish, little fish cardboard box.
Love it. Child of the 80s, my friend. Child of the 80s.
Love it, stuff. Love it. Cool. Well, welcome to this week's episode. And with me, I have Mr. Speed Freak Phil. How are you, sir?
I am spectacular, thank you. I'm fresh off a week off. It's been a lovely, refreshing break from the pod. No, I'm kidding. It's been horrendous at work. I'm still just as tired as I ever am. But you know what? I like you guys, so I'm here. I'm here to do it.
Oh, we've got a like. Oh, God, up in the world. He likes us. Oh, well, there you go. I feel all special and wibbly inside.
Alan, I love you. It's fine.
Thanks.
I love you.
I know.
It's so sweet.
You don't need to say it. I knew it when you looked at me.
The love in the eyes, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. And once again, we have Mr. Thunderlips McQueen. How are you, sir?
Oh, mate, I'm absolutely brimming. I can't lie. I mean, I'm positively moist, if I may go so far.
Is that because you're warm? Is it quite sweaty?
Yeah, it's a little warm actually. It's quite. My PC's pumping stuff out, and you just maybe turn my fan off because you can hear it on the podcast. So, yeah. That'd be the reason. Got to be done. Right, so this week, the usual, we'll find out what everyone's been up to. And then we've got a few bits of news, and Alan has prepared a quiz for us. So We'll see where we go with that. So I'm quite excited, know nothing about it. So let's see where we go. So, starting off, Mr. Thunderlips McQueen, what, sir, have you been up to this week? Oh, I'm so glad you asked me that, Craig. I'm so glad. Well, gaming-wise, not a lot's changed, to be honest. I mean, I think I mentioned last week that I've been playing Control, and I actually finished it. I think I finished it before last week's pod, so nothing new there. But I have started the DLC, and I think I mentioned I was going to. And the first one of those is Foundation. And I'm pretty much at the end of that now. And it's good. I think it lacks it doesn't have quite as good pacing as the main game. I think, ultimately Control is a combat game. Yeah, I mean, you go around, you shoot stuff, you have special abilities to throw at stuff, and it's
you throw chunks of wall at people.
Yeah, exactly. You pick up a set of chairs and chuck them at. I say people. They were people once, but you try to ignore that fact.
It's like the WWE of shooters. You just get a chair and break it over somebody's head.
Yeah, exactly. Whilst using telekinesis, not quite like WWE though.
As opposed to just a WWE game, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. But within like the main game of Control, it's quite evenly paced. So you have you go into an area, and I think it's almost like there's a director. I think they said running it, and it sort of decides, do you need some combat action? Have you had some recently? It's not like you go and there's always something that happens when you go into a specific area. Sometimes you might go into an area and nothing happens, and you spend your time walking around exploring, trying to get to where you need to get to, because it's a bit of a warren, the old house. Whereas I found with Foundation, there was like one of the areas I went to, which is on the astral plane. I was fighting a battle for 40 minutes. And to be honest, I got a little bit tired of it. I was like, I need a break. It's just, I enjoyed the combat, but I'm not very good at it. But it's just next platform and another fight, and then the next platform and another. And I felt a bit drained by that. However, the story's still enjoyable. Sorry, you were going to say?
Sorry. I was just going to say, I found when I played through, I didn't play the DLC, but when I played through the main game, I found that getting towards the end, I was like, and I ended up just going into the difficulty options and just making it a bit easier, just so I could kind of just get through it a bit quicker, because I was like, more and more, and just to get the rest of the end of the story. So, sorry, Karen.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. And I say, I definitely find that about Foundation. I've got the end mission to do, but I have to say there is also another mission which is absolutely fantastic, and I don't want to spoil it, but if anybody's played Control, the main game, you've got the Ashtray Maze, which is just a phenomenal mission where I don't want to say too much, but it's almost like you feel like it's some sort of 80s weird psychedelic shooting movie. It's just awesome, and it's so well placed, and it's a wonderful piece of gaming. And there's another one of those in Foundation, and I couldn't do that one. I failed on that one first time, so I've got to go and try and do it a few more times. And it's absolutely phenomenal, and it's brilliant, and I really loved it. Moving on from Control, I picked up another game which I played a lot, And I do have this tendency, I'm like you guys, always looking for the new fix. I tend to go back to games I've enjoyed. And I said when I got my new PC, one of the things I wanted to do was revisit games because they had more features available on the PC, and that is City Skylines. Because one of the things you don't have on the console version is the mods. And a lot of these mods have got some really cool features, like you really go into the traffic management system and you can really work out how the cars are going to go and change the lane direction and who has priority and stop signs and really geeky traffic management. And I'm in absolute heaven. Yeah, but you can't do that on the console. So, but yeah. I've been starting a new city. I'm up to about 45,000 sims. You can't know whether you call them sims because it isn't Sim City, but it is basically a modern Sim City, and I'm loving it on the PC. My intention is trying to. Oh, the other thing that you can do on it, which you can't do on the console, is you get to buy squares of land. So you start off in one square if you've never played it. And then after you've leveled a few like population milestones, it then gives you the ability to buy another parcel of land. Now, in the console version, or even in the PC version, the base one, you can buy up to a maximum of 9 sort of squares, parcels of land. There are lots of mods, of course, out there which let you open up the entire map, which means you can have, I think, so like 25 parcels of land. So in which case, I want to build like a megalopolis, which will probably just completely fail. There'll be death everywhere and destruction, and nobody will want to live there.
You know what you need to do, Alan, is build your megatropolis and then get a mod so you can add Judge Dredd in there, and then you'll be set because you can just go around executing the people who want to burn your city down.
I'm going to look out there because I think there is a set for like the buildings, which is cyberpunk. But if there's a Mega City 1 like building set out there, I'm getting that, man. I want Judge Dredd. Like
it would just be one building per block.
Yeah. Basically, and then little judges flying around on their hover bikes, just wiping people out.
Flying around. Yeah, but that'd be so cool. That would be. But yeah, so we're a bit far off that. TV wise, moving on from the games I played, I took you up on your advice, Mr. Lata, and I watched Clarkson's Farm. I said last week I'd only watched like 15, 20 minutes of the first episode, and if I'm honest, I found the first episode the hardest to watch. I felt that there was moments in the first episode that just felt like they were scripted. And I really wasn't sold by it. And then it's about the second episode, and there are 8 episodes in the whole series, but it's about the second episode where I just start to fall in love with it a little bit at a time. And the weird thing is, I think I've learned more about farming from watching Clarkson's Farm than I ever did living 15 minutes away from Chadlington when I was younger. When I used to be a chef in another life before I moved to sunny Peterborough. That's even before I moved to sunny Bury St Edmunds near you boys. And I actually lived in Oxfordshire, and I lived in a place called Burford, which is actually shown in one of the episodes, which is 15 minutes away from Chadlington. I didn't know anything about farmers. To be fair, I was drunk most of the time and working as a chef, so not necessarily at the same time. I did manage to keep my job. But yeah.
You didn't go to any of them potato throwing parties then?
No, it wasn't that countrified. Jeez. But no, it's a fantastic watch, that series, and I fell in love with it. I do feel sorry for the folks of Chadlington. I've actually listened to or read old Clarkson's stuff on Twitter, and he's been apologising a lot recently to the residents of Chadlington about how his farm shop is actually clogging everything up in the area. They must be so peed off with him, but I think he genuinely does feel bad and is trying to resolve that situation. But the series is phenomenal. Stick with it. You'll fall in love with the locals. #love Caleb. He is a god. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
And I know you agree, Craig.
Definitely. What do you think? Do you like Gerald?
See, the thing is, to be honest, that's actually a little scripted, because in the very final scene of the series, he actually talks normally. Yeah. But it's funny. The moments are funny, and it's great. The other thing I've watched that I've really enjoyed this week, and I don't want to talk too much about it because I got a feeling you might want to, Craig, is Loki. Now, I didn't realise until Wednesday when you actually posted a message saying, "Oh my God, have you seen this week's episode?" I've actually missed the previous week's episode because it comes out on a Wednesday. I'd completely forgotten about it, and then I get to Friday, I'm thinking, "Oh, nothing's out. I'll just carry on." And then so I had 2 episodes to watch, and my goodness, I'm almost disappointed this is only a 6-episode series. I really loved WandaVision, even though it took a little while to get started. But by the end, I was so in love with it. I really enjoyed enjoyed, The Winter Soldier. So much fun, really good action set pieces. I thought WandaVision was slightly better, and I think we already said that. But Loki has shot past both of those for me. It is just phenomenal. It is so good. It's fun. It's entertaining. It's got Marvel Universe in it, but at the same time, it isn't Marvel. It's Tom Hiddleston is just phenomenal, along with the lady, and apologise, can't remember her name. Who plays female Loki. Yeah, something. Did something. Yeah. But she's phenomenal. Everybody is phenomenal. Owen Wilson is just awesome. It's just perfect. And I am so excited for next week's episode. I cannot wait. And that feeling of like waiting for like next week's episode because you love the previous week so much is something I missed from when I was a kid. This is one of the things I've said before about, either binge watching something or waiting for an episodic, sort of series every week. And there is part of me that sits in both camps. I love sitting there for a whole weekend watching 8 episodes all in one go. Boom. It's like watching a massive feature film. It's awesome. Yeah. But at the same time, you don't get that excitement of waiting for next week's episode. What's going to happen? Oh my God, that end of scenes credit. I'm not saying anything, so I do not want to spoil it for anybody. And then finally, because I think I've rambled on quite enough, just before we came on the podcast, I sat down, watched Prime Movies, and watched The Tomorrow War with Mr. Chris Pratt. And it's funny because you posted something this morning, didn't you, Craig, where somebody from IGN had actually reviewed it and given it 3 out of 10. And what did they say about it?
Awful was the actual rating for it, and there was a I can't remember, there was a specific line in it that really put it down. Can't remember what it was. But they were less than enthused about that movie.
I think that I think they pretty much thought it was an absolute big steaming pile of poo, and I couldn't disagree more. Don't get me wrong; it's certainly an Oscar winner, and if I had to compare it to another film, it's very similar in tone and almost in essence of the story with The Edge of Tomorrow, and it doesn't come close to The Edge of Tomorrow in any way, shape, or form. But that being said, everybody in it does a really good job. All the talent is entertaining, does their roles. Yes, is it full of holes? Yes, the plot is, in some places, really bad. It's like, really? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Yeah. But if you just turn that brain cell off, I'm talking about me specifically, not necessarily about you. But if you turn off your brain and just watch it and just enjoy it for the action and the set pieces and everything else, I'd easily give it a 6.5, maybe even crouching into a 7. I thought it was great fun, great entertainment. I certainly didn't feel that I wasted my time watching it. It's a little bit long at 2 hours and 20. I think it could have done with a less 20 or 30 minutes, especially in the end sort of part of the film. But generally overall, I'd recommend it. If you like science fiction and you haven't got hugely high expectations, it is enjoyable. There's a lot to like here. I'd recommend.
I would certainly say, I've got 20 minutes left to go on it. So I haven't got all the way to the end because Phil popped round to see us earlier and he hasn't seen it, so obviously I wasn't going to sit and watch the last 20 minutes of the film.
Yeah, I can't comment on that.
So, I'm definitely along the same camp as you, Alan. Where I went in there thinking, as soon as I saw that review, I thought, I was really looking forward to that. I thought Chris Pratt, I really like him as an actor. I thought, that's great, but I'm going to watch it anyway. I'm going to make my own mind up. And actually, I found, and I've said this before on the podcast, sometimes when reviewers or my friends, give a poor review on something, I jump back in and watch it with such a low expectation that actually I get more out of it. And I think that's maybe what happened with this Tomorrow War. And because it isn't a good film, but it's not an awful film. No way. There's lots that they get wrong. I think there's a certain scene. It's not really a spoiler. They're trying to outrun a bomber that's going to blow an area out, and they're like, you've only got a few seconds to get away, and they're running through a lobby. Then it cuts to a jet. Then they're running across a bridge, and it cuts to a jet. Then they're running through a tunnel. They've covered about 3 miles in about 12 seconds. It's just all over the place.
And they stop to save some people that promptly get killed.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
So it's kind of, I think, a lot of the actors seem to be not really cast well for their roles. It's because Chris Pratt, he is really great at adding those comic relief moments. That is his thing. He's really, really good at that. As Star-Lord, and in pretty much any film he does, he can drop those little lines in. Jurassic Park, yeah, he's a naturally funny guy, very charismatic, and I get that an actor doesn't want to constantly play that one stereotyped role, and they want to kind of branch out and do different things. But he's trying a little bit too hard to be this kind of, I don't know, sort of a bit moody, a bit more edgy, this sort of ex-military guy. And
trying to be Michael B. Jordan.
Yes, yeah, possibly, yeah.
But I have to say, J.K. Simmons, that man can do no wrong. I've never seen him in a film that I didn't think he was awesome, and he's awesome in this, despite being in it for a very quite short time. But he's like, it's J.K. Simmons. How cool! He's awesome.
Yeah. So I think I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10. I think it's an okay film. Well, so far it might go horribly wrong at the end. It might go really, really well at the end. I don't know.
20 minutes is the best. No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah. One other thing I'd say about that particular review from IGN was they said about how the special effects were like the cheap made for movie special effects.
I did not see that.
They were really good. I thought they were really good. At
one point, there was hundreds of these aliens on screen as a mass attack. I can't say that I saw a single special effect that made me go, "Oh, that's a bit cheap, isn't it?" Maybe I just missed it. Maybe I was looking through rose-tinted goggles, but I can't say I ever felt like the aliens looked like they were out of place. The special effects were pretty damn good, I thought.
Yeah, no, definitely, mate. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing what you've been up to this week. I'm gonna jump in front of you, Phil. I'm sorry, mate. Give you time to prep with what get that brain engaged. But just because
we haven't got enough time.
Because I've got so much to talk about. Yeah.
Well, the main reason is because I want to kind of bounce a bit off what I said before about going into a film with really low expectations. And we spoke about. Oh, Alan's disappeared. We spoke.
We spoke about. You keep talking.
Yeah, we spoke about The Dead Don't Die last week, but it was last week. Yeah, that Chris brought that up, and how it was a woeful film. I think was his exact terminology. He was not impressed with it whatsoever. Sorry, Alan just trying to put me off with his mug there, as he always does. So he's not impressed with that at all. That film, and. I thought, right, well, I wanted to watch it anyway. I really like the cast. It's got some really, really good stars in it. And I thought, I'm going to go in, low expectation, watch it. And I actually really enjoyed the film. I thought it was a kind of a, it's very meta. There's lots of sort of layers to that script. I thought it was really well crafted and really well put together, and it's really aimed very much at geeks like ourselves, who like anything kind of comic book wise or movie wise. I don't want to kind of say too much about it because there's cool little things in there where they kind of, some of the actors are almost sort of reference themselves from outside of the movies and things like that as well. Again, it's no film that's like an Oscar winner again, like we said, but it reminds me of an indie Coen Brothers movie that's just not quite as good as a Coen Brothers movie, but I would certainly say it's well worth a watch. It's not particularly long, and I really quite enjoyed it. So, that's my polarising review on that.
I'm not sure I can bring myself to watch it after Chris's review. I'm not sure I want to spend my life watching a movie that is so divided between you two, unless there's nothing else possibly that I ever want to watch, and I'm stuck and I need to watch something. I think I'm going to hold off on that one just in case.
It's I'm not going to push anyone to watch it because, like I said, it's not like a must-see movie or anything. But I certainly did enjoy it. So what else have I been? I've also been playing a lot of Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart. So I'm probably about 40-45% of the way through that game on the PS5, and it's an absolutely cracking little game. I actually, very late to the party, only just finished the 2016 Ratchet and Clank on the PlayStation. It had 60 frames per second update, and I thought, right, I'm going to get stuck into this and really have a go and try it out. Absolutely loved that game. Finished it. Got lots of the sort of the hidden extras and stuff out of that game. Went straight into Rift Apart, and that is a stunning game. Absolutely brilliant. It's got fantastic gameplay mechanics, really great combat, a really fun little story going through it as well. And really, really enjoying it.
Worth 70 quid.
I don't know. Talk to me next week when I finished it. I mean, 70 quid is a lot of money. And again, I think I said about this last week. 70 quid it just seems, because of the value we're getting out of Game Pass, £70 is a bitter pill to swallow. Is it an expertly crafted piece of art? Yes, it is. Do I want to be able to give that developer that money? Yes, I do. But it's still 70 quid and it still hurts. But it's a great game. So, I'll wait till the end to fully pass judgment. And another thing I've been playing a little bit of is Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts 2, I think is the title. Something like that. It's about 15 words long. I picked that up on the PC. Really great little game. I've never played any of these series before, but they're all about really long distance sniping. It's all first person, so not third person like your Sniper Elite stuff. That's been really good fun. Phil actually came around, had a little go earlier on today, and shot someone's head off and witnessed the ridiculously over the top gory head explosions.
Can you play it in VR, Craig?
I don't think so, no.
It's probably for the best. I mean, that was horrific.
It was.
I mean, there was like an eyeball over here, and there was like a bit of brain over there, and it looked like one of them cabbage creatures from The Last of Us. When the head is basically turned into one of those.
Yeah, pretty brutal, but so far really cool little game. It's lots of cool stealth mechanics and the sniping. I mean, I was sniping people from over 1,000 meters away. It was fantastic, really good fun. So I'd recommend that one. Over to you, Phil. What have you been up to this week, man?
So I suppose I've technically got a couple of weeks of catch up to do, but I will keep it short. So I'm going to start with TV, and I'm going to go into gaming afterwards because it follows on potentially to the next point. So I finished watching season 7 of the Clone Wars because I, for some reason, didn't get round to watching it and then forgot about it. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch it. And oh, yes, if you are a Star Wars fan, you need to watch the Clone Wars. The first 3-4 seasons, not great. Season 5, 6, and 7, absolutely superb. 6 sets up some fantastic background on how Darth Maul basically becomes the head of like a crime syndicate, and you see him right at the end of the Solo movie as a little teaser. I'm pretty sure the statute of limitations is up on that now, so sorry if you haven't watched it. It's your own fault for being a Star Wars fan and not watching Solo until now. But you see him at the end, and it sets up in season 6 how he ends up being at the end of that movie, which is fantastic. And then season 7 basically goes through how Ahsoka Tano ends up in The Mandalorian and what happens to her at the end of the Clone Wars and during Order 66. And it goes into some really cool stuff around like how they program the clones so that they execute Order 66, I believe is the correct terminology. So I would highly, highly recommend, if you haven't watched the Clone Wars and Star Wars fan, you need to watch it. They spent some good money in terms of budget on that as well. It looks really good. I've now moved on to the Rebels. I'm only a little way into that. I kind of wrote that one off. I was like, I'm not that bothered about it. But there's actually 4 seasons on Disney Plus. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to get stuck in and see what that's like. Alongside that, I've gone back and watched a very old TV series because I've been on a bit of a sci-fi kick. And I really fancied watching some Terminator. So I went back and I've been watching through Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles, which you can pick up on Apple TV. It's about 15 quid, I think, for both seasons. It's pretty cheap because it was like 2007. And I'll be honest, the special effects are kind of from 2007. But you know what? If you like Terminator, it's got some great background on there. You see some new models. It's got some pretty good actors in there of like Summer Glau and
Lena Headey, isn't it?
Lena Headey, yes. She's brilliant in there. She is a fantastic... Yeah, she's a fantastic Sarah Connor, actually. She really does that role justice. Again, I'm not going to talk too much about that, but if you guys like Terminator, I reckon that's well worth your time to watch as well. Season 1's only 9 episodes. I think it was kind of a bit of a tester on there, but it was received really well because season 2 is like 24 episodes. So they really...
And then they cancelled it.
And then they cancelled it, yeah. Say no more. Gaming wise, I have been kind of doing what Craig's been doing actually. So basically, I was really interested in getting Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart because I've got a PS5, and I was like, yeah, I really want to play that. It looks great, uses all the ray tracing. Really quite excited to play that. And Craig said, you know what? Before you buy it, play the original. It's in the PlayStation Plus collection. Give it a go so you know what you're getting into. And I did. And I jumped in, and with the 60 frames update on that, I really enjoyed playing through the first one. I was like, yeah, this is good. I like it. I enjoyed it. I finished it a couple of days ago. Luckily, due to the magic of game sharing, Craig spent the £70 on Rift Apart for me, and I've just started that. That's okay, because I took the bullet for Returnal, so, you know.
Yeah, that was a bullet.
That was a bullet, yeah. Not going to talk about that, but what a great-looking game. What a fantastically crafted experience. Like, the combat feels fantastic. It looks superb. It's so pretty. I'm running it in the performance ray tracing mode, so it's basically 60 frames, and with ray tracing, there is a fidelity mode that gives you 30 frames, ray tracing, and all the available accoutrements that go with it. And there's also and there's also a 60 frames, just pure, no ray tracing. It runs really well, and they kind of turn on some other effects.
Amount of things going on the screen on that. That's just mental.
Yeah. It's. I mean, that's like literally the kind of almost the very first part of the game. And it's such a brilliantly crafted area. It makes it almost feel like a slightly cartoony Coruscant. Like, you know, you got all the cars flying around the background. It's like a giant city up in the clouds, loads of neon everywhere. Oh, it's so good. And I love the setting on it. So, again, at the moment, I'd say that's a good recommendation. Definitely check it out, particularly for PS5. I think it's, you know, it's Insomniac Games, and, you know, they did the Spider-Man games, and they always just, whatever they do seems to turn to gold. You know, we had, was it Sunset Overdrive on the Xbox was the exclusive?
I wouldn't say it turned to gold. It was a great game, but it didn't really sell very well.
Sorry. But is it on Game Pass? I don't know if it's on
Game Pass. It's been on Game Pass for a while, yeah.
It's a great experience, particularly through Game Pass. Let's go with that. But yeah, it's a really good game. Didn't sell well, but it's a good game. It's a good experience. This is very much the same. It's a really great experience so far. You're a little further ahead than me, so again, maybe by next week we'll have changed our tune. Who knows?
So as far as I've got, I very much doubt it, to be honest.
Fair enough. So yeah, that's it. A couple of TVs. I played some Ratchet and Clank. I'm really enjoying it. I can't wait to get stuck into Ratchet and Clank and you know, get to the end of it maybe.
Well, I think to continue this fantastic run on our Xbox-centric podcast about PlayStation games, I actually think, Phil, there's a little bit of news around Ratchet and Clank, and something they've added in that could potentially, you know, affect other things in other consoles, couldn't it?
Yes, I mean, that in particular is why I suggested this as a little bit of a piece to have a chat about. So basically what they've done in Ratchet and Clank is they have introduced a 120 hertz update that you can turn on and off, but it doesn't play the game at 120 hertz. As bizarre as that sound, still plays at 60. Crazy, yeah. 120 hertz, turn it on, don't get it. No idea what's going on there. What it has done though, is it's improved the fidelity mode. So I mentioned earlier, there's 3 graphic settings. There's a fidelity, which is ray tracing, all the special effects, runs at 30 frames locked. 30 frames these days isn't a great experience. You know, we're so used to many of these games having that 60 frames update that it suddenly starts to feel a bit chuggy. And the other 2 60 frames modes, they run great, but you can't have all the settings on there. But what they've done with the 120 hertz mode is they've basically used that setting to upgrade the 30 hertz fidelity mode to 40 hertz. And because it's a direct division of 3, you're basically adding in an extra third frame or an extra frame every 3 frames. So it does actually improve the smoothness of the game, because the PlayStation doesn't support variable refresh rate at the moment to smooth it out. But it basically gives you a much nicer, smoother experience with all of the top graphic settings on there. And that got me thinking as a really interesting, like, do you remember Resident Evil Village we talked about? And their kind of premiere mode on there with all of the settings was another one, again, that was at 40 hertz rather than at 30 or 60. And it made me think, if they're doing this with Ratchet and Clank, maybe that's kind of one of the ways they're looking to improve these top graphics performance modes. So we might start to see that creep across into more games. Because I'll be honest, I tried it, and on the fidelity mode, it does look significantly sharper, because you jump from effectively 1080p on the performance ray tracing mode to anywhere between 1800 and 2160p. So you're basically doubling that resolution. So it is a lot sharper, it's a lot crisper. And once you get above that 30 frames, it does smooth it out. It doesn't feel chuggy. That you can feel a difference between 40 and 60 if you're concentrating, but you played it for 5 minutes. Actually, it's a nice experience. So it's a really great little addition they've done in there. And I'm kind of excited to see that potentially they're going to, maybe we'll see this technology cross over into other games so they can, deliver us their visual masterpiece with all of the settings that they want on there. But we don't have to have that 30 frames, that sort of slightly chuggy feeling of 30 frames.
It's almost quite a good trade-off, isn't it?
Yes, exactly it. Yeah, all of the settings on, and it's still better than 30 frames.
Yeah. I mean, I'm certainly with you. I go into a game now playing it at 30 frames, and I really, really struggle. If I stick with it, I can kind of adjust and get back into playing it. But I mean, Alan, you'd probably say the same after playing something like Control, really fast, visceral movement on the PC, and then jumping into something that dropped the frame rate in half. You'd be like, "Oh, what's going on?" You can almost see it flickering. It's that slow, and it does really make a difference. It's hard to change. So, I mean, I don't think that. I mean, I could be wrong on this. I don't think on Resident Evil they were touting that 40 frames per second mode only for 120 hertz displays. I think
that was just built in there, but it got me to thinking, like, if they're doing this on here, I mean, that's the only other game off the top of my head I can think of that does the 40 hertz. But we might start to see more games implementing this kind of tech in there as a kind of additional feature. I mean, I think, was it last week you guys talked about, the Xbox branded TVs that are coming out, the certified for Xbox? All of those TVs that you were looking at, and the monitors as well, they're all supporting 4K, supporting 120 hertz with the HDMI 2.1. So, there's going to be a lot more panels out there that start to support this additional feature, because you're going to have that 120 hertz compatibility. I mean, the 120 hertz panels, they're better for TV viewing anyway, because the processors and the TVs upscale and add in the additional frames to smooth it out. So it's something that I think we're going to see more of, and really great, almost like a test bed to see how it works. And from initial impressions, I think it works really well. So we might start to see this tech implemented. So I guess this whole article is kind of like, watch this space. Something interesting's happening here. How it will shake out, I don't know. Maybe we'll never see it again because it was a terrible idea. But tell you what, I can hear the fan in my PlayStation 5 kicking on when it's on that setting.
Oh, really?
I can hear it just going zzz, just shuffling away in the background there.
Oh, nice. Anything to add in there, Mr. McQueen? Or did you fall asleep?
I think he's asleep.
Not really. I am curious. And I know, we've had this discussion before, and I kind of take umbrage with the terminology of 30 frames a second being chuggy. But I don't have quite the level of, oh my god, I can barely play this game because it's only 30 frames a second feeling that you do. I've been playing games at 30 frames a second for years, and I can't say that when I go from playing a 60 frames a second game back to 30 frames, I go, oh my god, this is unplayable. But that
maybe you should load Control back onto your Xbox and then tell us how that plays.
Yeah.
That's your homework.
Maybe I should.
I'm giving you homework, Alan. Okay, this week, download Control, play it, compare the two, tell us which version you prefer.
But that aside, my question is, so we're talking about basically these two games, so The Village and Ratchet & Clank, right? And there is this new facility where they have upgraded the hertz to 120, so you can get 40 frames a second at the lowest rate with a higher resolution, right? Is this specifically on the PlayStation, or is this... Is it on the Xbox as well? Is this, because what the question I'm asking is this a workaround to inherently an issue with the PlayStation, or is it inherently an issue with something broader and it affects Xbox as well as PlayStation? Because the games you've talked about are both PlayStation games.
No, Xbox, Resident Evil: The Village is on.
It's on Xbox as well. Yeah. So does it affect that as well?
No. This tech is specifically in Ratchet & Clank. Specifically,
I was just using Resident. I was just frames a second you talked about with The Village. Then
Resident Evil, they had their premiere setting was 40 hertz in Resident Evil: The Village. It wasn't anything to do with this tech, but Resident Evil was the first game I'd seen where instead of it being a 30 hertz for the top graphic setting, it was a 40 hertz. Ratchet and Clank has then introduced it into their version of the game. It's basically, originally when it came out, it was just 30, 60, and 60, but they've patched it. I think it was literally like maybe 2 weeks ago or something that they added in this setting. And basically, it's taking advantage of the 120 hertz panel in a TV that has 120 hertz to improve the experience in there.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure this, because there are some things I'm going to be talking about later that they're inherently a PlayStation issue. And I'm not getting down the road of like PlayStation bashing. I'm not that kind of channel. I'm not that kind of person. I love gaming in all formats. It doesn't matter whether you play on your mobile phone, you switch PlayStation or Xbox. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter. However, if there is an issue that focuses, because that is an issue that focuses on an issue with that console, then I'm interested. But if it's not, if it's got more to do with the TV, which makes sense to me, then that's good. That you're improving something within it that will keep Craig happy, and you won't have to play chuggy games.
So
moving forward.
So where I'm looking at this and experience, so I use Resident Evil as an example because they went for the 40 frames. But you guys have both played Watch Dogs Legion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Sadly.
not enough.
and in ray tracing, it's only 30 frames a second. Yeah, and me and Craig both think it's chuggy, and we both play it on the performance mode, or did when we actually played it, because it's a better experience in our opinion. So again, that's another game where potentially, if this tech is cross-compatible, you could utilize the 120 hertz panel that me and Craig have in our tellies and give us 40 frames instead of 30. It does feel like it removes some of that chug. That extra 10 hertz does feel like it makes a difference. And Watch Dogs Legion, it's another game that, off the top of my head, the ray tracing mode has that 30 hertz. I'm sure there will be other games out there. I just can't think of them off the top of my head.
It kind of confuses me a bit, though, to be honest. I mean, we're talking about something. So you're saying inherently it's something like ray tracing that's causing games to have to run at half the frame rate, right? So how is that improving the graphics in a game if you add another feature into it that means it runs at half the performance that it did before? Everybody goes, oh, ray tracing's great, but we have to run it at half the speed, which makes it chuggy. How is that better?
It's the choice. It's having the choice, isn't it? You can choose to have the prettiest game ever.
No sense to me.
And if I could just interject there, so I think a great example is something like what Insomniac are doing. So rather than just having a fidelity mode, which runs at 30 frames per second, which has been pretty standard for consoles for the past God knows how many years, across the Xbox One and Xbox 360, for example. Then you also have the performance mode, which then runs at 60 frames a second, and it's a much smoother experience, but maybe the resolution or the graphics settings are dropped down a little bit, so you've got the trade-off. But what they're doing is they've created this performance ray tracing mode which sits in the middle, so you get the benefits of the ray trace lighting, so you get those realistic reflections, and it looks really pretty that way, but they drop some of the other settings down to make it so it runs at 60 frames a second, so it's that halfway house. And I think it's very much, I know from most people that I speak to, they would prefer to play a smoother gameplay experience than have a slightly prettier looking game. And it's effectively, I think what we're talking about is if we can have something with 40 frames per second, it's kind of bridging that gap that little bit more to make it less. Because, like we say, effectively you're seeing half the number of frames that you would when you're playing it at 60. So that's why it feels, and I know you joke about saying a chuggy game, but it's in comparison. Like I say, if you put a 30 frames per second game on, the first 10 minutes you're playing it, you're like, oh, this is really quite difficult to play because it feels really unresponsive. But then once you play for 10 to 15 minutes, you kind of get into it, and you can play it fine again.
But
then you switch back over to a 60 frames a second game, and it runs really, really smoothly.
Yeah, just generally, it's not the game that takes me time to acclimatise. It's actually me. So it doesn't matter if it's at 600 frames a second. I still wouldn't be able to play for the first 10, 15 minutes. But yeah, I get it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I get it. I'm not down. So it's just my personal opinion. Just trying to put that in there, and
we need to set you up with a test bed so you can understand it better. I think.
Let's do a test. Yeah, I'll put on control. I'll back on my console because, of course, I don't have the upgraded version like Phil says.
Have a sick bucket next year,
and I'll report back next week and report on whether I had to sit down a minute because I was dizzy because of the sheer volume of chugginess.
Yeah. Well, it's I think Ratchet and Clank, they're and Insomniac specifically are just, as I said, doing some fantastic work in terms of technologies and that, and features that are only available in next gen consoles. It makes me really excited to see kind of what other studios are going to be able to do with this kind of hardware and these improvements going forward. Particularly people like the big studios like Rockstar. Thing is, with Rockstar, to see the next bit, we may be waiting quite a while with the latest rumours coming out. So
good segue. Slid it in there.
And again, ruined it by identifying it.
Good at those, isn't it, Phil? It's getting really slick. We've got to stop pointing it out because it is kind of rude.
I just give up.
But if I didn't do it, you or Ratley would point it out. So, it's my turn this week.
So, GTA 6. There's rumours out there coming from Tom Henderson, who's actually a leaker with a pretty solid track record. He did some leaks around kind of Battlefield and Call of Duty that all turned out to be true. And he said that we're not going to see a GTA 6 until 2025. He's also claimed that it's going to be set in a modern-day Vice City, which sounds pretty cool to me. So kind of like a modern-day Miami. I'm thinking kind of Bad Boys. Something like that would be quite cool. And it's also said, which is quite a cool feature that sounds very much like a next-gen feature, with having an ever-evolving map, much like how they do with Fortnite, for example. But I can only imagine the kind of next layer that Rockstar would take something like that, whether areas are getting flooded or buildings are getting blown up because of events happening, and I think it's really quite exciting thinking about what they can do. But they're certainly in no hurry to release anything of this anytime soon because, well, of the ridiculous amount of revenue they still get from GTA 5, don't they? But I mean,
they're due for another round of, let's call it gamer funding, shall we say, for the PlayStation 5 and Series X.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so obviously they're planning to release out the new patches for the series. Yeah, well, I say patches. Let's be honest, they're going to be new games. Oh, pay £60 again for it's only 60, not 70.
Unconfirmed, just so we're clear.
Unconfirmed. Yeah.
Unconfirmed,
It's going to
very
be
likely.
Yeah. So Phil buys it for the fourth time.
It is the fourth time. Yeah, was it 360, Xbox One, PC? Wait, no. Is it the fifth time? Did I have to buy an upgrade from the Xbox One to the Xbox? No. The One X update was free, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it'd be the fourth time then.
There wasn't a One X update.
I think Skyrim's still winning.
Still winning. Nobody is at the same level as Bethesda for re-releasing their games and getting some extra funding in for some.
Yeah. I mean, it got me thinking. Like, is there any kind? Have you kind of thought about GTA going forward, GTA 6, and are there any kind of things that you can almost, if you could imagine anything in the world that could happen to a GTA game, what you'd want them to implement? Because it could be as far-fetched as you like, and I think Rockstar could probably deliver it. Remember when the 360 version of GTA 5 came out with multiple characters and stuff? It was crazy that they managed to implement it. What do you think, Alan?
I really wish you'd told us you were going to ask this question because I would have put some real thought into it. But straight off the top of my head, the first thing that I think about is, and I think I've been some rumours about this and I've seen some information, and it's something I'd like. I think size is always better, and that's what I tell the ladies.
It's all about the girth, yeah.
just generally the width, Anyway, moving on. Yeah, I'm talking about, just people have been talking about having like every single area from the game in one map. A map so big that it literally takes you so long to drive from one side to the other. We're talking about Vice City, we're talking about Los Santos, we're talking about everything, San Ferrero, the Las Vegas, whatever it's called. I can't remember what Las Vegas was called.
Kind of like what they did on San Andreas, but just on a grander scale.
But even on a grander scale, everything included in there, all the side areas, so they can even add stuff in. So they're like they do with like Elder Scrolls Online. And I'm not obviously there would be an online component eventually, but I mean, for the single player game, I'd want to have regular updates, so make it kind of a single player experience with single player stories, but those stories are within an evolving open world where you can either go in as multiplayer, you can go in as single player, and then you play like through the main campaign, and then 2 months down the line they throw another a couple of stories in, another, so it's almost like episodic. You keep buying more content for it, not just going around shooting.
Don't give them ideas, Alan. They've done it for free. They've done it free on GTA Online. They make enough money there. They can just put them in free.
Well, maybe that could be what they mean about this kind of ever-changing map. Like you say, you'd have a bit, and then when they release a new bit of story, there's another island that opens out off the coast. Or when there's another bit opens, the airport all of a sudden is now open after it was being renovated, and you can fly to another city off the other side or whatever.
Exactly. I mean, I love GTA, but one of the reasons I don't play it anymore is, when it comes to the single player, I've played through the story about 2 or 3 times. I've enjoyed the experience every single time. It's phenomenal. I love the characters and everything else. But then we end up playing on the multiplayer, and 99.9% of the time, I just end up standing there watching you and Jill shoot each other with snipers for half an hour.
Yeah.
And then driving around in circles, blowing stuff up with rocket launchers. And after a while, I'm just like, no, I'm out. I'm bored. I've had enough. It was a bit of fun for 5 minutes, but I can't do it anymore. And, you've done the heist. I know people spend much of their online lives in the online game. But ultimately, there's a shelf life. We've said it last week, I think, or a couple of weeks ago. I want more single-player content. I want more story. And I want the environment for that to be able to happen. That's what I want.
Yeah. How about you, Phil?
So for me, it's Rockstar. So I think they're going to be the company that nails 60 hertz with ray tracing and looks incredible. They're the company that's going to do it. So that game is going to be the best playing, feeling game, I suspect. And they'll get all the feedback for like the haptics on the PS5 and the vibration triggers on the Xbox. They're going to get all that stuff spot on. Since the other one I was going to say is what Alan said, which is they're going to add in all the maps. So again, I can't think that. So I think they're going to do a Fast and Furious to us. They're going to go to space. They're going to take us into space.
What? Space GTA, Phil? Like Space Top Gun?
Mate, I'm not getting it from the Bethesda game. So Space Top Gun. Space Top Gun. And there's going to be Vin Diesel up there in his Charger sitting on a satellite just going, yeah, man, family.
Well, I do apologise, everyone. We seem to have lost Phil from the stream. So I'm only joking. He's back.
Harsh. So do you know what? Honestly, I can see them doing it. There'll be some reason we're gonna have to go up into space. They're gonna have like the Hammer of Dawn, but GTA's version up there, and we're gonna hijack it. We're gonna use it to blow off the front of a building to rob the
road than GTA, to be honest, at this point.
Yeah, and then you're going to blow off the front of a building to get to the vault that's underground. And then, because they're that badass, the hole where you destroyed the building is going to stay there for the rest of the single-player game. They're going to fix it gradually over time. And the airport will be, like, shut down because they'll be like, I don't know, like in, was it Call of Duty where you had that mission where you had to go in and the Russians killed the civilians in the airport?
No Russian, yeah.
Yeah, there'll be like one of those, and that will close the airport off for like 3 months of the story campaign while they mop up the blood and all the other horrible things. And it's got a bit dark. I'm not going to go any further. But GTA 6, Space Top Gun.
Oh my word! Dude, we're going to have to put a ban on that phrase, Space Top Gun. Although I think there was a couple of people agreeing with you in the chat, which upset me a little bit. But fine, I'll let them have it.
Since Bethesda aren't delivering it, if anyone else is going to deliver it, let's be honest, it's Rockstar. They've got the money, they've got the talent, and they've got the mental capacity. They're just insane.
I also want to make a comment that I think we need to call this, I say delay, but it's the Valve effect, isn't it? Where a developer makes so much money from their product that they have absolutely no need to brush out the next iteration. Valve have stopped pretty much making games apart from Alex VR, which is, recently. But ultimately, why have Rockstar got to rush? And in one hand, I'm kind of like, well, that's amazing because it shows, let's face it, GTA 5 is a phenomenal game. It is a seminal game. But at the same time, on the other hand, I'm thinking, 2025? I've got to wait that long? I've got to wait another 4 years? I nearly died this year. I'm really going to have to really buckle down on that exercise so I can live that long to play GTA 6.
Yeah, no,
way too long
totally
to
get
wait.
it.
Exercise goals. Alan circled it in his calendar, GTA 6, and he just put a big red ring round the whole year of 2025.
Well, one of the big things with GTA and Rockstar is, remember when Red Dead Redemption 2 was being made, and that was right around the time when Jason Schreier was kind of bringing to light all this kind of crunch around a lot of developers, and Rockstar got a lot of bad press on that, and they had a lot of hard time. And I know there's been things that have been said, again, whether it's rumour or whatever, I don't know, that they're really focusing on keeping their employees happy and not overstretching their employees and keeping the stress levels down. Because which they're in a financial position where they don't have to push their employees like that. They've got so much money coming in from GTA Online that actually they can create a great working environment, and hopefully that translates to an even better game. Yeah. So who knows? I'm all for it really. But yeah, no. So I'm excited to see what comes out of that. But it's not the only game, obviously, that was touting a bit of a ever-changing map. There was a little game called Dying Light 2 that actually talked a little bit.
A new trailer dropped this week. I'm glad you mentioned that, Craig. Yeah, that was very convenient because I had to watch that myself just today. No, I mean a new trailer dropped, and again, I think Techland are on this PR thing, which is very common these days, where you're getting sort of semi-regular trailer drops, and this particular trailer was really, really cool. It was called the Monsters gameplay trailer, and it kind of starts off with you're watching the main protagonist, Aidan Caldwell, and he's parkouring through the city. And I have to say, the graphics are looking really, really nice. There's a fantastic scene where he climbs up this rope or this building, and you see a reflection in the window. Now, I'm not technically minded. I don't know whether it was ray tracing or it was just clever programming that did reflections, or I really don't know. But it looked really, really good. Right up until the point he stood at the top of a building and looked across, and there is like one of those big containers being lifted, and it was like, and I was like, really, guys? It's a trailer. You couldn't fix that. But apart from that, the graphics do look very, very nice. But that wasn't really what was on display in this trailer. What was on display was the zombies.
Not allowed to call them zombies, are we?
No, they're infected. Then. Okay. And it basically it shows like Aidan trying to make his way through a GRE hospital full of lots of different types of the infected. And this is apparently one of the new types of the map, which is called a dark area. And there's a new mechanic associated with this, which means that you have to get out of that area in a certain amount of time, because otherwise you will turn into a zombie. Infected, due to the lack of UV rays, which I find kind of interesting because, they haven't really talked an awful lot about this game mechanic, and I'm not sure how that works. How cool would that be in a sense if, even when you're outside at night, you have to plan everything you do by going from one lit area to another lit area, because if you stay out too long, then you actually become, I think that was kind of, as determined in the first game, that essentially everybody is infected, and that it's just like it's a question of when you turn and the right circumstances. So. And then it starts off with this completely different type of gameplay from what we've seen in previously, because it's always about the parkour, which we're seeing on the screen right now, and it looks so smooth and everything is fantastic. But when we get into the hospital proper, it's all about stealth. And I know what everybody's thinking, oh, here we go, the generic stealth section in a game. Some games get it right, most games don't. But it has to be said that the first thing that you see are these zombies that are called sleeping beauties. And they're basically kind of sitting there, just kind of hunched over, like sleeping, and you have to creep past them. And if you get too close or you make too much noise, then that automatically, they all suddenly erupt, and all of a sudden you're in the big poo. Yeah, and it's just the graphics look lovely. The atmosphere was really, really good. But what really made me kind of sit up and take notice was the sound. When I was listening to it, they were making noise like almost like the zombie
sounds. That's a headphones game, isn't it? That's a game you need to play with your headphones in.
Yeah, if you turn up the volume, you can hear it. There's these noises and these roars and in the background. Yeah, there we go. And it's just like you can imagine. It kind of felt like almost like I think it was Zombie World War Z. When they make those kind of clicking noises and and I was like, oh my God, that makes me so on edge. And then all of a sudden, as we can see in the video, it kicks off, and then you're running for your life, and you have to make it to the outside. And the trailer really filled me with a huge amount of excitement, because it shows that they're not just sticking with the old formula, they're putting new mechanics in with new areas, dark areas. And the zombies that we saw, there was the Sleeping Beauty, but there was also, we saw one of the big guys at one point, point. I can't remember what they're called exactly.
Like the Night Walker type ones, aren't they?
Huge
that thing was
walkers.
The big ones, yeah.
Yeah, and like they're different from like the first game. These guys are roided up. They look huge, and they almost look like tanks from Left 4 Dead. And then you've got this other one which looks like a bit like a witch from Left 4 Dead, which has got these claws. And I actually saw the picture for this. I can't remember what they're called. I've written it down here somewhere. They're actually called banshees. That's it. They're called banshees. And they're kind of like zombies that were like almost like they're wearing dresses, and they've got talons that were their nails. They're all kind of like socialites that have turned into the infected and got their claws, their fake nails have turned talons. It's really cool. I know, but it's kind of it's that kind of particular sort of like type of infected.
When I play this game, I'm going to call them socialites moving forward.
Exactly.
What happened to you last time?
Things.
Carry on.
Yeah, one of the cool things I actually read about this on the website was that actually there's these moments with these banshees where they actually become almost aware, and there's a little bit of their humanity that comes out. And you remember that from the first game sometimes when you got like the kind of really hyper ones that had come running up, and every so often they start talking. They go almost like they were human again. But apparently these do the same thing. And I have to say, with the atmosphere, that would be really, really awesome. Really excited from seeing that trailer. I just go on, Craig. What are you gonna say?
I said I'm going to play it on mute.
Yeah, mute. yeah, because you'd be wouldn't you? Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just going to get a message from Craig with the words "Code Brown," and I'll know exactly what he's playing.
And then we saw the volatile, which I think we saw in the trailer. Which is
that's the one I meant. Yeah. Sorry, not volatile. Volatile.
Yeah, yes. Volatile. They're awesome, and they're all ramped up, and there are different types of volatiles in this one as well. So this is Dying Light 2. It's got December the 7th release date, coming out on pretty much every platform, old gen and new gen. And on the PC, but Techland are already ramping up things. They've got a comic coming out, and it's actually available if you go to their website. It's called Banshee, I Am the Cure, and it's available free, a digital version, until July the 15th if you go to the Techland website, which gives a bit of background story to the game. And also there's a nice little feature on the website called also What Kind of Monster Are You? So if you click on it, and I did it, and I got the Banshee, which is why I know a bit of information about what the Banshee is. And it's one of these random questions where they just ask you silly stuff, and it gives you a random answer at the end.
I'll have to do that.
But it's fun because you get to see some information about the infected. So fantastic trailer. I'm really excited for more trailers come as we get closer and closer to the release. But I'd recommend going and watching it because there's a lot. Yeah,
definitely. Well, I think it's great to see. There's so much great content coming out of like top quality content coming out of Europe at the moment. Dying Light being one of them, because Dying Light the first one was absolutely fantastic, and I think this is just going to set the bar that next bit higher. And actually, incidentally, I was listening to IGN Unlocked podcast. It's their Xbox podcast. They had their 500th episode. They actually had Phil Spencer on as a guest, and they were asking various different questions. And he was talking about they were talking about their portfolio and studio acquisitions and things like that. And he very much kind of put forward. They said, are there any kind of holes in your portfolio currently, the things that you're missing? And he said around like kind of family friendly games and things like that. But one of the main things that really caught my ear, he was talking about, he said, geographically, we still have some areas that we really need to work on, which kind of moves me into this next subject a little bit over with that Phil's going to talk about. Certainly would tick some of those geographical boxes that they're struggling in, wouldn't it, Phil?
Presumably you're talking about Japan.
I certainly am, yeah.
Eastern side where Xbox basically don't sell. Yes. So the next bit of news is a bit of news that excites me because I'm a big Hideo Kojima fan. I love Metal Gear Solid. I really enjoyed Death Stranding, despite the fact it's a walking simulator. That game, I was staggered. I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I played that. It was brilliant. You can play it on PC, Alan. I believe it's actually on offer on Steam for about £21. Well worth you picking it up. It's right up your street. You build roads and huts and you climb.
Because he hasn't got anything else to play.
Are there dinosaurs in it?
There is I don't want to spoil it, but there's a big like octopus thing that you throw poo grenades at. So,
Oh, I'm sold. Poo grenades.
And what's on the back of the box? Throw poo grenades at this octopus. It's brilliant.
You know what? I don't even feel like I'm going to justify it any more than that. Just you'll experience it and you'll understand. So the reason we're talking about Hideo Kojima is obviously there were rumors around him possibly working with Xbox. There's now a signed letter of intent for a new game between Microsoft and Kojima Industries, which is very exciting. And the thing that caught me specifically on this one was the fact that this game, at least in part, is going to be designed specifically to work with xCloud. So I think that's very exciting because that suggests to me that it's very likely to be an Xbox exclusive. Luckily, we're an Xbox-centric podcast, and there won't be a load of PlayStation fanboys about to hail horrid abuse at me for saying this. But for me, I'm very excited because, PlayStation have had that, almost kind of had a bit of a monopoly on Kojima, particularly with the early Metal Gears, and they've sort of crept their way over to Xbox in remasters and HD remakes. And then we got Metal Gear 5, which, no matter how you look at it, no matter how mental the story was, that was a brilliant experience. I mean, the open world was fantastic. And I mean, Alan, again, you play that game on PC, that is photorealistic in that Fox engine. They did such an amazing job of bringing that game to life on there, and then they put Kojima on top of it and all his mental stuff, like hiding in cardboard boxes and abducting people. You can abduct sheep with a fault and recovery system. I mean, who doesn't want to abduct wildlife?
I'm slightly worried about you now, Phil.
Mate, I'm just scratching the surface right now. The rest is not for public consumption. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, so the main point of this is it looks like we're definitely, well, by the sounds of it, we're basically at the point where we're going to be getting a Kojima game on Xbox. The general thought process that because it's going to be working with xCloud, it's very likely to be a Microsoft ecosystem exclusive. So console, xCloud, and PC, which is great for all of us. Also, if it's in the Xbox ecosystem, there's a chance we might see it in Game Pass. Not a guarantee, but a chance we might see it in Game Pass. And I think that's very exciting too. We've just talked about how much that £70 of Ratchet & Clank stung us and the misery I suffered from purchasing Returnal at £70. 80 actually, because I bought the special edition.
Wasn't it 89?
Yeah, right. Let's not talk about it. Still sore over that. But yeah, I am very excited. I love Kojima. You're right. I mean, this could be the game that plugs that hole in that kind of eastern side where Xbox just don't have any draw. And you know what? If that game's on xCloud, the people over there in Japan and China and stuff, they don't even need to buy a console. Like, Xbox don't care whether you buy a console or not. They lose money on them anyway, basically. So, you don't buy a console, but you buy Game Pass. They are absolutely in the money. And this could be the thing that kind of cracks that market. I mean, particularly over in places like Japan, like mobile games and phone games are a really big thing over there. The Nintendo Switch sells
space. Yeah, space is such a premium in Japan, isn't it? It's such a small island. It's so densely populated. Everything you see. I mean, not that I've been there, but when you see on TV or in films, the apartments are tiny. The hotels are tiny. Everything's just really small and built up on top of each other. So it's having more things that are mobile and things like cloud, and it totally makes sense that a company like Microsoft. That's the kind of company that Kojima would want to pair with their kind of specialisation in cloud. I'm not just talking about xCloud. I'm just talking, the Azure cloud that they have.
Yeah, the Azure cloud for all of the, the workflow stuff that they do, around Microsoft Teams and bits.
Yeah, and he's the kind of guy that he's an outside the box thinker when it comes to game design. He always has been. So, I mean, I can't even begin to comprehend what is going through that guy's brain in terms of cloud. The levels of meta with it would just is. I would imagine it's going to be something pretty special if it pans out. Definitely.
Oh God, yeah, it's going to be like, I don't know, Kojima's version of Pokemon Go that works on your games console. Like you go to a specific bit because you need to get some specific equipment, but you've got to physically go somewhere to pick it up, and then you're going to get like a Kojima movie while you're there. It's like a custom 10-minute cutscene because you've gone to a Costa Coffee or a Starbucks or something. It's going to be completely mental, whatever he does with Xbox and whatever he does involving cloud. It's just, oh God, I'm really up there. You gave me too many cups of coffee today, mate. Like the cogs are turning and it's not going in a good direction.
Yeah. I mean, he is, he is love him or hate him, the guy is a very, very talented game designer. His storytelling, again, for me personally, I know for Alan as well, is very questionable. But his game mechanic, you can't knock it. It's very, very good.
The experience you get by playing like a Metal Gear Solid game is, there's not much that has that nuance that he puts in there. There's so many little systems that all hook up, anywhere from smoking a cigar to pass the time to faltoning a sheep because you need to save the wildlife, and that
Keep
builds
going back
up.
to that sheep, don't you?
Love that, yeah. I think it's donkeys and zebras, and you can make yourself a whole wildlife. Like there's an entire platform where you can get your wildlife.
He's doing the whole freaking barnyard. I mean, I have to say, I've made my feelings clear about Hideo Kojima previously, and what you've said, Craig, pretty much nails it on the head. In terms of gameplay innovation, he's about 10 years ahead of everybody else. But as far as his game stories and play, it's not for me. It's not my taste. But that's not why I'm going to talk about. What I'm going to talk about is the vitriol that is online about this rumor. The PlayStation fanboys are absolutely foaming at the mouth. He is dead to them. Hideo Kojima, you have betrayed us, your loyal customer base, like somehow he owes them. Somehow he is an obligation to the PlayStation owners, which he doesn't. He is an independent developer. Just because he's worked with PlayStation does not mean he is obligated. And ultimately, he was dropped. So it's not like it was his choice in the first place, was it? But what's
ridiculous about this whole scenario is, let's say he makes this game and it's on xCloud, and you're a PlayStation owner. You open up the web browser on your PlayStation 5, and you go to whatever it is, like xcloud.microsoft.support or whatever the link for it is that you go to on your iPhone, and you click on Hajima's game, and it's going to come up on your PlayStation, yeah?
Yes, but that's great, but that's not what they're upset about. They're not upset about the fact they can't play it. Then they're upset about the fact that he's gone to the enemy. He is working with the enemy. He is their boy. And they are very unhappy about that. And it's a bit sad, to be honest. As I said, gaming should benefit everybody.
Yeah. Did I see somebody has put a petition?
Yes.
Cancel that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I linked it in we have a little WhatsApp chat about the unnamed games when we're planning our episodes a bit. And at the moment, I posted it. It was 9 of 100. And once they get to 100 people protesting it, the the protest gets bumped up the list, and it gets more publicity, and they put it out to more social media platforms. Who thought? What were they thinking? It's not like they're not going to get to play this game. I've just said, you open your web browser, you're going to get to play it. How can this be a bad thing for anybody? Microsoft have an incredible amount of money to pump into this to make it the best possible experience.
Every PlayStation fan that there is could sign that petition. It still wouldn't make a difference. Microsoft go, okay.
And the reality is, it wouldn't be every PlayStation owner. It is a small select segment of PlayStation owners who somehow think they're entitled.
Well, me and Craig are PlayStation owners. We are part of that ecosystem.
I'm not just saying specifically PlayStation people, because they're just the same. There's a group of people who own Xboxes as well. It's this whole fanboy mentality, and I absolutely hate it. It shouldn't be that way. But it is surprising how that they've turned on him so quickly because he's made a business decision to work with their arch enemy.
Yeah, it's absolute madness. It's absolute madness. End of the day, like we said, again, just to not repeat it, but he is ahead of the game, isn't he, with what he does? So it's exciting to see what will happen. And I'm sure, much like you said, Phil, when you play it on the PC, like not GTA 5, Metal Gear Solid 5, sorry, on the PC, it just looks absolutely stunning, and that makes me think to myself, what is he going to be able to do going forward with this next gen hardware?
Because he's not even good.
Yeah, he's not had the chance to do anything yet. And Death Stranding, again, quite a polarising game because it's a very strange one, almost a genre of its own. But again, graphics, it was absolutely fantastic looking.
Even on original PlayStation, it was amazing. Not even the PlayStation Pro version. The original PlayStation at 1080p, it was boggling what he managed to get out of that game. Yeah, so well programmed and coded.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but speaking of stunning visuals, there's also another studio out there, actually one that's owned by Xbox now, who've dropped a little patch, haven't they, Alan?
Well, yes, Doom Eternal has had its next-gen upgrade this
You know
week.
what? It just feels weird that you're not identifying the segues now. It's throw me right through a loop.
I'm sorry.
I've been trying really hard
I
not to make
know,
mention of them, and now you brought it up yourself.
I know.
You're
I was like that. It's because I'm waiting for it.
You literally threw me under the bus for pointing it out, so I decided not to make that mistake further on. There was 2 really slick ones in there as well. So
he's doing a great job. We should really pay him. Anyway, so yeah, Doom Eternal has had its next gen upgrade, which I'd just like to point out to 505 Games is free. Yeah. It went live this week, and while the Xbox seems to have absolutely no issue whatsoever, same can't be said for the poor old PlayStation owners. Now, I haven't had a chance to play it. I know you have, Craig. I mean, let's face it, Doom Eternal was a pretty damn fine-looking game, which ran really smoothly with a heck of a lot going on screen. Please tell me, how is the 4K 60 frames a second looking with that fancy-smancy ray tracing?
It looks very, very pretty. Very, very pretty indeed. So there's certain areas where I'll go through an area and there's like, I don't know, old smashed shop fronts in the levels that are kind of the smashed to pieces earth. And you can see Doom Guy running past in the reflections. And they've actually put a specific skin on the, I forget the name of the gun. It fires like a single bolt out. Anyway, I can't remember what it's called, but they've actually done a specific skin called the Ray Trace skin. And what they've done is they've basically made the gun really shiny. So when you run around, everything just shines off the gun and just looks great. But yeah, it runs beautifully. It still obviously plays fantastic. It's still an amazing game, but it just looks that little bit better. They've also added in that 120 hertz mode as well, which I haven't tried yet because I have to kind of flick my TV around for it. But I'd imagine that's probably quite nice. But yeah, back to you, sorry.
Well, the great thing is that if you actually own on the Xbox, then not only will it upgrade free, but it will also upgrade automatically if you have an internet connection. So I'm sure mine is already upgraded. All I have to do is turn it on, and I'll go back to where I was in the campaign and have the new fancy graphics, and I don't need to do anything, which sadly is not the same situation if you're a PlayStation owner, which unfortunately seems to be the issue that they're having, because it is a save game issue, which, as we all know, has never been an issue for PlayStation 5 at all. The save games have never caused them any problems.
What was your Final Fantasy remake experience, Craig? How many times did you download that game?
Yeah, that's actually a good little point there. Just sorry to cut in for that, Alan, but it's just on the same point. I downloaded Final Fantasy VII, the PlayStation 5 upgrade remake. Yeah. I thought, I'll give it a go. Fired it up. Oh, my save game isn't there. I'm sure I carried it across. Went to the manual cloud settings, pulled it all over again. I was like, fine, it's still not there. Then I noticed that there was an upload save game setting. So I went to it and it's like, you need to upload your saved game from your PlayStation 4 version of Final Fantasy VII to access it on the PlayStation 5. So I had to delete the PS5 version, reinstall the PS4 version, upload my saves to the cloud, delete the PS4 version, reinstall the PS5 version, download the saves into the PS5, and then I could play it. Hence, I played it for 10 minutes and went, I don't want to play it anymore.
I was going to say, how long did you play it for? 10, 15 minutes max?
I have 2 words for Sony. Smart.
No, hold
delivery.
Up your cup.
Yeah.
Hold up your cup again.
No, that's just one word. That's just one word, and that's what it is. Total
Whoever
bunch
thought
of
that was a good
twats.
idea.
Yeah, I mean, it is ridiculous, but this is essentially the issue. And although, again, a small portion of the PlayStation community are really down on Bethesda, I would expect for obvious reasons, what them being an acquisition and now owned by Microsoft as well. But they're really blaming Bethesda for this issue. However, Bethesda acknowledged this issue when the upgrade went out on Tuesday, and they're already working with Sony to actually address the issue and try and get it resolved. Because some people are kind of upgrading the game, and then they're trying to go in, and it's saying that it's actually the PlayStation 5 version is actually locked out to them, so they can't actually play the upgraded version. So it's like, again, but the contrast between the upgrade experience on the Xbox and the PlayStation, I'm sitting here thinking, is this Bethesda's fault? I mean, yes, they're not the greatest company when it comes to resolving issues, but when you have an upgrade system that is so outdated and so non-customer friendly as the one on the PlayStation. We have to go and actually upload a Doom Eternal campaign upgrade. So you have to download that, then you have to go to your game library, then you find Doom Eternal, and then you have to go into the menu. And it's just like, why does it not just do that for you? Why is this complicated? Why are you making this a difficult experience for your customers? And ultimately, this, for me, not being an expert, seems to be the root cause of the issue why their upgrade has not been successful. Not because Bethesda dropped the ball, but because it's so ridiculously convoluted and complicated.
Back-end systems, yeah,
exactly. So sadly, that's the situation as it stands for the poor PlayStation guys. But hopefully, Bethesda, as I said, are very aware of the situation and they'll get it turned around as quickly as they can.
Yeah, they'll invest some Microsoft money into fixing the PlayStation version of the game.
Yeah.
just for reference, the PlayStation doesn't automatically upload your game saves onto cloud anyway. You have to go in and manually do it yourself, which is
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Sorry.
Just imagine it this way: you've got your lovely PS4 Pro, you're playing away, you've got hundreds of hours worth of gaming on there. Somebody nicks your PS4.
Yeah, it is bonkers. It's like, I think I've said before, it's like having a Dropbox that you can't set to automatically upload on your PlayStation. And it just absolutely boggles my brain. It really does. But, it's just because we have been primarily Xbox users for so long, and you just get used to these things. And it's just like, we almost don't give Microsoft enough praise for the great things that they do.
These quality of life improvements. You kind of take it for granted after a while, but the fact of the matter is that if we didn't have them, we would be in the same boat as PlayStation. As at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
So for the PlayStation fans out there, I apologise for the kind of bashing that's only took a little bit. It's unfortunate, but you know what? Facts are facts.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Exactly.
Way to stop on the
got to call it what it is. Anyway, so that's through with all the news and bits this week. Obviously, it's been relatively light on news because we've had a rather big thing a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, exactly. But we can talk, as I said last week, we can just ramble on about nothing for hours. So you'll always be fine with that. Even if nothing happens, we'll still be chatting away. So, time to move over to This is the Quiz. This is the quiz. This is the quiz.
Oh, thank you. Right, this evening. Okay, I've got something special for you boys. We're going back to metrics. Okay, you ready? Metrics is what we're all about this evening. We're talking numbers, we're talking statistics. I've got an Excel file all keyed up, ready to go. Yeah, it's actually got a formula in it, everything else. So we are ready to rock, boys. We are ready. Okay. Right. So I hope. Right, so you don't need a buzzer because it's going to be closest to for all the questions. Okay, you ready? Okay, so I'm going to start off. I think I'm going to go like left to right as I see you on the screen, but each question I'll get one of you can go first just to keep it fair, okay? And we'll start off with Craig for the first question. Nice simple one for you. Nice starter, okay? Okay, get into the zen.
Let's do it.
Okay, so what is the average age of a gamer in the UK?
I would say the average age of a gamer in the UK is 37 years old.
Right, okay. Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Keying that into the Excel spreadsheet. Okay.
Oh, now I see why it's done the spreadsheet.
Higher or lower?
Oh, I just have to go higher or lower.
I mean, it doesn't really matter because if you go higher or lower, then you're going to get closer to it. But you can give me a number. Just say 36 or 38.
Oh, but that's dirty play. I want to go 33.
Well, go 33 then. If you want to go 30, it's difficult, bloody.
33. The average age of a game in the UK, I'm going to say is 33. I don't know if that's the case, but that's what I'm going to say.
Many of these metrics, I am ultimately a little surprised by this. I know there's a lot of talk about obviously from our point of view, gamers are getting older because we've been around for a long time, some of us anyway. And the number is actually 28. And I think that's down to the fact that the demographic is that there are a lot more younger players than there are older players, mostly because we're dying off.
Yeah.
Well, some of us are trying harder than others, obviously.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, okay, I've worked very hard for that one. Thank you. Anyway, so next question. We'll go to Philip first.
Okay.
What percentage talking about percentages, so it's out of 100. Just to be clear, I know there are some people that like to go 120 percentage. You can't have 120 out of 100, but let's just get past that because that really does tingle me. What percentage of 36 to 50-year-olds in the UK play games?
Of 36 to 50-year-olds.
So the older age bracket, not quite decrepit, but older. What percentage in the UK play games?
Hang on a sec, Craig. You're not in that bracket. You're not in that bracket yet, are you? Not even this month. 18%. I'm going to say.
18%. Let's just do that. I need to put a border on that. Yeah, okay, cool.
While Alan's doing that, in case anyone's wondering, Alan's job is Excel spreadsheets. He loves Excel spreadsheets. He loves them even more than he loves gaming.
His job title isn't Excel spreadsheets.
No, it isn't. I'm actually the localization lead. I deal with translations for a large company for the whole of Europe. Thank you very much.
And
I
you
do not
that by using
building
Excel
spreadsheets. Yeah, admittedly, I built a really complex spreadsheet to measure costs and all that sort of stuff. Yes, I love Excel. I'm not going to lie, but that isn't actually my job. It's not my job title. I'm not like Excel spreadsheet guy.
I bet you have an Excel spreadsheet for your bills every month, don't you?
Might do.
Yeah, I bet you've got one when you go on
sense.
holiday. Yeah, when you're planning out your holidays.
Well,
I can't even remember what the question was now.
Okay. What percentage of 36 to 50-year-olds in the UK play games, Craig? And Philip said 18%.
I'll say, I could just go higher or lower, or you want me to give a percentage?
A number would be preferable, yes.
15%.
I'm not Bruce Forsyth. Okay. Sadly, I'm afraid, Craig, you went the wrong way. The number is actually a lot higher. It is 51% of 36 to 50-year-olds play games in the UK. Now, bear in mind, I want to make this clear, right?
Mobile games.
I want to make this clear, okay? Firstly, all of these metrics came off the internet, so that doesn't necessarily mean they're true.
Well, that's the thing, because 97.8% of statistics are made up on the spot.
Exactly. Indeed, they are. And the other thing is, I might be talking complete cobblers. So, just so we're clear, okay?
And much like bull shark semen, 100% of the time it works 60% of the time. Or is it 60% of the time it works 100% of the time? Nobody knows.
Isn't that Sex Panther?
Okay, just everybody
bull
stop
shark
talking.
semen from GTA.
Look, zip it. Okay. Next question. Starting off with Craig going first. How many millions of people are gamers in the UK?
I'm going to say 15 million.
15 million from Craig. Excellent. And Mr. Thompson.
How many millions of gamers? And there's 60 million-ish UK people. I'm going to say it's higher than that. I'm going to go 30 million.
Okay, so we're only 3 questions in.
And I'm getting trounced.
It's not going too well for Mr. Indiana Bond at the moment. It is actually 36.3 million. So
I was close on that one.
Still plenty of time to pull it back, Craig. Let's not get disheartened. I think some of your key questions are going to be coming up soon. We've got questions about sphincters and about coffee. So we should be right in your ballpark very soon. Okay, so across this will be Phil first, okay? So across all age groups, what percentage of gamers are female? And I just want to make sure, I want to make this clear as well. When I'm talking about gamers, just so we are all aligned, okay? When we talk about gaming, we're talking about all gaming platforms, and that includes mobile phones, which is one of the biggest and most profitable gaming milieu in the whole industry. So just to be clear on that. So across all age groups, what percentage of gamers are of the lady persuasion?
Oh, I think that's higher than a lot of people think. I'm going to go 46% because I didn't like 45. It just didn't sound like it rolled off the tongue properly.
Okay. So, Craig, across all age groups, what percentage of gamers are female? You want to go higher Lower.
I'm going to say 51%. Why not?
Okay, so I'm pleased to say that Craig won that one.
Yay,
across all age
finally.
groups, what percentage of gamers are female is 48%. My psychological help there, I went higher or lower.
It's
Really
closest
helped.
to.
But you didn't know.
It's closest to, right? Craig said 51, which is 3 away from 8, and I said 46, which is 2
Sorry,
away
Craig,
from
he's
8.
quite right. He's just stolen it from you. Sorry, actually, I apologise. My maths went a bit already there. What's wrong with my formula? Hang on a second. Count if equals.
I think I might be taking Captain Spreadsheet's hat away from him at this rate.
Equals the sin value of the cosine equals. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Phil won that one. But strangely enough, the biggest gender gap apparently is in the 36 to 50 age group, but the gap is still only 10%. So, gaming pretty much equal across both genders, which is nice, in my opinion. My wife is an avid gamer, so, that's great. Right, next question. I believe this will be... Who went first last time? Was it you, Craig, or was it Phil?
Phil went last time.
Yeah, so it's you, Craig. With puzzles and quizzes being the most popular gaming genre in the UK, with 63% of gamers playing them, what percentage of gamers do you think play first-person shooters?
So, sorry, could you... I'm just going to take a stab. 40%. 40%.
Wait a second. Let's just take a step backwards, okay? Don't just throw numbers at me. This is not science, okay? So, what percentage of gamers do you think play first-person shooters? I just gave you the highest one, which is puzzles and quizzes, which is 63%. What percentage of gamers do you think play first-person shooters? Bearing in mind, people will have answered more than one genre, so it's not like it's what's left of 37%. It could still be,
Yeah, 40%.
I'm so glad you clarified that, Alan. Well done.
Phil, I put the effort in.
I still think it's 40%.
Good. Okay. So you said pubs and quizzes was 63%, you said, yeah?
Pubs and quizzes, did you say, Phil? Are you needing a beer?
Maybe.
Puzzles. I think he said puzzles.
Yeah, okay.
It was the highest one at 63.
Yeah. 63. Okay, so I'm going to go 56%.
56%. Okay.
I think it's quite high.
Okay, so I am absolutely very, very happy to report that Craig definitely wins this one. Because the percentage of gamers, and I'm just making sure my maths are right here before I say too much, but what percentage of gamers do you think play first-person shooters is actually 29%, which is actually about 8th down the list. It's nearly, when you bear in mind one of the biggest audiences is probably mobile gamers, and it's probably mothers or unemployed people, or people have a lot of time to sit there on their phone and play games. Yeah. Then these people are more likely to play games other than first-person shooters. People who play first-person shooters are usually teenagers or younger generation, because we no longer lack the speed and skills and the reactions to play them with any sort of consequence, that actually they spend a lot of time at work or at college, so they don't get to play as much. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Sounds like science. It's absolute rubbish.
That was great waffle.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thanks, Alan.
The king of the blag is not dead. Right, so far, scores on the doors. We're halfway through. We have Phil on 4, and Craig is on 1. But it's a fabulous one.
Why,
Okay, so next question, and I believe this will be Phil first. So what, according to science, is the peak age for gaming, when you have the right balance between reflexes, the ability to understand the game, and also enough maturity? And we're not talking about Jules.
No, because his category is very different to the rest of the world. I'm going to say 16 years old.
16 from Phil. What age do you think is the optimum age for playing games, Greg?
I was going to say 15.
Okay. It's almost all over bar the shouting. I'm afraid the winner there was... I'm not afraid. I'm pleased for Phil. I really am. But Phil...
Because I normally lose.
No, yeah, well, yeah, there is that. But the normal winner isn't here this week, so both of you could have had a chance. But the actual answer is actually 18, or I would have accepted 19. So if one of you had answered 18 and 19, I would have been in a real quandary. Would have to given you both 1 point. Would have been a whole absolute mess. It would have been chaos. Cats and dogs living together.
We could have had a draw. Oh, I didn't realise that. Sorry, Craig.
No, there was a bonus question just in case. Okay, so here we go. Talking about those younger gamers, Fortnite is a massive gaming phenomenon with over 6 million to 12 million players for regular days, and then with events and new seasons, sometimes seeing player counts push towards 15 million. But what percentage of those players are male? Who was first?
I went first last time, so I think it's Craig this time.
You're right. I was trying to think there for a second. I was going, is it me? Is it Phil? What percentage are male? I would say 65%. Just
Phil.
judging on how many my boys play with. But
Yeah.
He's smiling. I feel like he's smiling because you've either absolutely nailed it right on the target,
or I'm millions of miles away.
Yeah. I'm going to go a little lower. I'm going to go 52%.
Maybe I should put some conditional formatting in so it shows the height. Anyway, yeah.
Welcome to Excel with Thunderlips.
That's the name of my new channel. I'm doing that. Right, anyway, the actual winner of that particular question is Craigie Poos.
Yay!
Who actually was nearly bang on. It is 66%, and you got 65.
Nice.
So I was quite pleased.
By a gnat's whisker.
Indeed.
Literally, yeah. I mean, he did smile when you did it. He's not got a poker face, has he?
let's start a game of poker, shall we? Real money. Okay, as of 2020, it is estimated that China ranks first among the biggest gaming markets worldwide with a revenue of how many billions? Who's first? It's you, Phil, isn't it?
How many billions in revenue does China? Oh God!
But is it yen? Is it not yen? Is it? That's Japan.
Billion, I'm going to do it in US dollars. So
in US dollars, right? Yeah.
US dollars.
I don't even know what the currency is in China.
Which is going to make a big difference to you, isn't it? Because you're going to go, well, obviously it would have been 100 million yen, but obviously if we're talking dollars, we're going.
Well, I think isn't a drink like about 10,000 yen?
I don't know. I have no idea. No idea. I've never been to China. I'd like to one day. Go on, Phil.
Okay.
What do you think? How many billion?
How many billion? Oh, I don't know. It's not really a matter of if it's high. It's really how high to go, isn't it? I think 40 billion. I'm going to go 40 billion. That's per year, yeah? We're going
39 billion from me.
39 billion. Okay.
It doesn't matter. You've won anyway. I can't win.
Actually, you could have won because there are 3 more questions and it's 5, so we could have had.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said it was all over from the other one I asked.
No, I said it was almost all over. If I did. But anyway, I'm very, very sad for you, Craig, because if you'd simply gone the other way, you would have still been in the running because it's actually 40.85 billion. So instead of going down one, if you'd gone up one, you would have snagged it. So yes, it is all overall now.
I should have Googled it like Phil.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and just gone. Let me think about it. So with the combined esports revenue and the two together, that's probably going to be that beats 300 billion yen. We break that into transfer, so that would be 40.
For audio listeners,
I've just won.
We can see Google in Phil's glasses, you see. So no, I'm joking. He's not cheating, really.
Okay, so seems I put so much effort into this. We're actually going to do the last 2 questions, whether you bloody like it or not. Okay, so
there it might fall off.
So the first one is something that I know is key and very close to Phil's heart, and that is single mothers. 71%.
I'm not sure if that's a jab at my personal preferences and the fact that what I do for a job.
Oh, it was definitely the first one. Definitely the first one.
Because they're also the target demographic given the choice.
Anyway, these aren't specifically single mothers, but so 71% of mothers or women aged 25 to 54 with at least one child play video games across any device type. However, not all of them consider themselves gamers. What percentage does?
It's me first, isn't it?
Yep.
I would say, I reckon it's probably quite low. I would say 15%.
Okay, so have you spoken to your girlfriends recently, Phil? I mean, what are they telling you?
I'm not sure how to answer that, except I'm going to go with 20%.
20%. Okay.
I'm feeling a nice 1 in 5.
So he's digging the knife in and twisting it around Craig's innards, as it is actually 48% describe themselves as a gamer. So
that is much higher than I expected, actually.
It's fantastic news because it means it's coming more mainstream. I said when I was a kid, I was a geek,
so much better at my job than I am, if that's the case.
Great. I hope your boss doesn't watch this podcast. Actually, doesn't Craig outrank you at the company?
No.
He's not
a different department now.
Different department.
It's got a good job, isn't it, really?
Probably, yeah. Questions would be asked.
But I think it's fantastic because it just shows that, this whole thing about being a gamer, it shouldn't be about gender. It should be you enjoy games and therefore that's it. So whether you're a mother or a father or a
statistics are very much highlighting the fact that I think a lot of people's kind of conceptions about who games and when is actually really wrong. I'm quite surprised by the number that acknowledge themselves as gamers. I'm not surprised by the number of people that sit and play phone games. I mean, let's be honest. If you have a phone, you're probably going to play a game on it.
Yeah, the thing with statistics like this is you always look at that microcosm of your social circles or the people that you know. And if the people that I know, that they're wildly away from the people that I know, totally. But it just goes to show that I'm an old man who just stays in my own village and doesn't really go very far. So
yeah. Right. Okay. So we're going to do the final question, and we're going to move away from single mothers and from gamers, but we are going to move towards games. And this particular game we've already mentioned this evening. So GTA 5 is actually third on the list of the best-selling video games of all time. I'm not going to ask you what the other two are because you probably know what they are. Craig? I am going to ask you, apparently.
Go on, then.
I was totally unscripted.
Tetris?
Yep. Phil? Second
Minecraft?
most. There you go. So there we go. So we're gamers. It's not that hard. But GTA 5 is apparently third. So reports from Business Insider suggest that Rockstar Games have made upwards of $6 billion from GTA 5. They're all driving around in golden cars with golden sunglasses and golden bathrooms. But how many copies have they currently sold of GTA 5? I believe is it Phil first?
It's me first, yeah.
You lost track.
Was it 6 billion?
Yeah, do the maths. £70 each.
I was going to say, well, surely they've sold.
But are they including their GTA 5 shark card revenue in that? Surely they are.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So they.
I just wanted to see Phil's amazing computation. It's getting completely wrong. Go. That's 664 billion copies.
Yeah, you've snookered me there now. And then they discounted it down to like 12 quid. So then we're going to sell more copies. I'm just going to go 600 million copies.
600 million copies from Phil. Go on then, Craig. You've just Googled it. How much is it?
200 million.
200 million. Well, according to the source I actually read, which is probably completely different from every other website you look at, it is 110 million copies. So that means Craig wins.
Yay! I won one.
Because everything else was irrelevant, and it was only
the last question
that counted.
The last question was the one that won. No.
Yeah. I mean, that one was worth 77 points, wasn't it?
Mate, it was worth 6 billion points.
Scores on the doors, and according to my conditional formatting, was actually Phil with 7, Craig with 3.
Oh.
Yeah. Still, pretty impressive.
I just love the fact that we managed to capture Phil's thinking face because it was pretty special. Oh, it's on the back there. I can see all the working out there. Look.
So that's the quiz. Thank you very much for tuning in this week. Next week we'll be doing a quiz on what's in Phil's bedroom.
There we go. There's Phil. Thinking his brain away.
I'll be honest, boys, that's not a game I want to play.
Great stuff. No, thank you very much for that quiz. That was good fun, mate. Thank you very much.
I enjoyed that, yeah.
Awesome. And you got the chance to build yourself a little spreadsheet, which we all know you love. So, you should be thanking us for the opportunity to work with Excel.
Exactly, yeah.
Every day. I thank myself every day. Not only that I'd be thanking you for that, but that you are part of my life.
Oh, isn't he sweet? So I think we'll wrap it all up for there. It's been a good, solid episode there, sitting at nearly an hour and 40 minutes long. It's a long one considering we thought we had nothing to talk about. But from myself, from Phil, and from Alan, it's a goodbye. Say bye, boys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Until next week.